Hi devs! In this video we are doing a readability review of some actual code that I encountered during a review, and we are going to be talking about nesting and formatting of your code. The code I'm going to review I translated to TypeScript and changed some of the names and so on to protect the innocent. So I suggest you pause the video and look at this code and see how you can improve it. As you're looking at this code, note that it has a bug. See if you can figure out what it is. Okay, so let's do this review. As you are looking at this code, you should be asking yourself, what does the function do? Can you actually figure it out without looking at the details? Can you just scan through and get an idea of what the function does? How quickly can you figure out what it does? Do you have to read through the entire code in detail, or can you just scan? Once you've gotten the general idea of what the code does, then you can look at the details and see if you can figure it out. So what are your thoughts about this code? Well, first of all, when I look at it, it is so deeply nested that I can't figure out what's going on. Which one of these ifs matches with these else's? If I'm careful, I might be able to figure it out. Thankfully, VS Code gives me some lines to help me kind of line them up, but it's still pretty confusing. Secondly, I want to ask, what is the happy path? What is the main thing that this code is doing? Well, it's grabbing some data, and then it's doing a whole bunch of checks, and finally, it's summing up some values that it got out of the response and dividing by the length, so it's computing the average. It took me a lot of effort to figure out what it was that this code is doing. That is a readability problem. But how would you fix it? So one of the obvious problems in this code is the deep nesting. We nest and nest and nest and nest. Why are we nesting? Because first of all, we're checking for this exceptional case, then we're checking for that one, then we're checking for that one, then we're checking for that one, and each time we nest in further and further and further, until finally we get to these 3 lines of code are really the meat of the function. So one of the best ways to fix this is to use the concept that we would call a guard clause. And in the guard clause, you do the check, and then if the check fails, you exit the code immediately. That will allow you then to put the next check on at the same indent level as the one before it. You check it and get rid of it, and check it and get rid of it. Then when you finally get to the happy path, to these 3 lines of code here that are the meat of the function, they will be indented all the way to the left, and they will be much easier to have them stand out and tell you what it is that the function is doing. So let me go through and actually make those changes and show you what I'm talking about. So here we are. Let's do the first one. If response status equals OK. All right, let's take the error from up there and put it in here and get rid of that else. So now if I reformat it, then I see I've lost 1 level of indenting already. Okay, let's do the next one. Is authorized. I know it's going to be the bottom one. Let's put it in where it belongs. Get rid of that spurious else down there and reformat, and you see it's getting less and less indenting already. Let's do the next one. All right. Oops. Delete those lines. Okay, you get the concept here. Let me do this last one really quick. All right, now we've got it. We finally have this function where we have all the checks up front, up at the top, followed by the 3 lines of code. It's really easy to tell what's going on here and what it's doing. Now it's obvious that this temporary variable average isn't really necessary. I can just return here, make it a little bit shorter, and it's easier to follow. And then some people don't like doing this, but I think in this case it's quite reasonable to get rid of the curly braces here to make the function even simpler. So let me quickly do this. And then let's put just to make it even more clear, let's put a blank line there to our happy path. So now if I look at this function, I can very quickly get from the function declaration to the fetch data and immediately to the happy path code. So there you go. That's one way to clean up inordinate amount of nesting and to make your code much easier to look at and read and understand how it works. Now, let's ask, did you find the bug? Well, let's look. Here, if we look at this, we say the response is authorized. We throw a wrong encoding error. And if the encoding is not UTF-8, then we throw an unauthorized error. So the nesting was so bad that we got our error messages mixed up. So let's fix that. And we've now not only made it more readable, but we fixed a bug. There you go. If you have comments, I'd love to hear them. And if you are brave enough to submit your own code for me to review, take a look at my bio to learn how to do that. Hi, as a follow-up, after I posted this video, I got a number of comments saying that I had made a mistake while I was refactoring the code, and they were correct. So I would encourage you to go back and look at the code to see the final code and see if you can figure out where I made the mistake during the refactoring. So I chalked this up to nerves while I was being recorded as refactoring, but it also points out the importance of having somebody else review your code or for writing unit tests. You should do both, of course. Anyway, if you looked at this, you may have discovered that as I was changing the code and refactoring, I forgot to negate the terms inside of the if clauses so that they ended up incorrect. This is now the final state of what the code should look like. You can see here, this is now correct. I'm looking for a not equal here, and not equal, and so on. So anyway, have fun with that, and we'll see you in the next recording.